Pumpkin blinis with a mushroom pâté and a crunchy hazelnut and pumpkin dukkah, all served with a whiskey sour. I'm back with another episode of Aperitif in Pairs, where I create nibbles and drinks that go really well together to create little moments to share with family or friends or just by yourself and appreciate the little joys in life. So we want to start by making a pumpkin puree. I'm just going to take a small pumpkin, I'm going to de-seed it, then peel, chop into large chunks and put that on a baking tray with some olive oil. I'm not getting rid of the seeds though because they're delicious and we're going to use them in our crunchy topping. So the seeds you want to rinse to get rid of like any pulp that's stuck to them, dry them off, put them on another baking sheet and put that all in the oven, 180 degrees, 30 minutes for the pumpkin, 15 minutes for the seeds, and then you blitz up the pumpkin and you've got our puree and we're ready for the blinis. In a large mixing bowl, you want to weigh 250 grams of plain flour, add a pinch of salt and half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg and whisk all that in. And in a separate little bowl, you want to weigh 270 ml of milk and warm that up slightly for 10-20 seconds in the microwave until it's tepid, just slightly warm to the touch but not too hot, and add 7 grams of yeast and whisk that in and leave it to rest for 5 minutes on the side. Then back to our bowl of flour, create a little well in the middle and add 200 grams of our prepared pumpkin puree and 1 medium egg. Combine that in the middle and slowly add in our milk yeast mixture bit by bit. Keep whisking until it all combines. Add bit by bit to avoid forming too many lumps and just do your best. Doesn't matter if there's lumps, the important thing is not to over whisk, so just add it little by little and it'll be fine. Put it on the side to rest until it doubles in size. Should take about an hour. Now, while that's resting, we can move on to our mushroom pâté. This is a vegan recipe and it also works really well as a dip or a spread, and it's really umami and autumnal, so really useful recipe. It's easy to make but does take a fair amount of chopping, so bear with me please. You want to start with 4 shallots, peel them and slice them. It doesn't have to be super neat because this bit is getting blitzed up, so just roughly chop them the same size and do exactly the same with 4 garlic cloves. And then again, lots of mushrooms that need chopping down roughly, and then we're going to blitz those up separately in a blitzer to get them as small as possible. Once all that chopping is done, the hard part is over. So we want to put a frying pan on a medium to high heat and sweat off the shallots, garlic in some oil with salt, pepper and oregano until it gets nice and golden brown. Then in that same pan, we're adding more oil and we're going to sweat off the mushrooms and let the water evaporate. This can take about 10 minutes. We're going to blitz our shallot garlic mixture and then put that back in and then leave it on a medium heat until it's dry. Then we're going to add 1 can of chickpeas, but make sure to save the water from the can because it is essential for our cocktail afterwards. Now we've just got to mash up our mushroom mix with our chickpeas using a fork until they're all mashed up together, and we add 2 tablespoons of tahini. Keep mashing that up with the fork until you get a nice spready pâté consistency, and then add as much lemon juice as you like to taste. I've added a whole lemon's worth, and taste it to see if it needs any salt or pepper. Now for our last bit, which is optional but delicious, we're making our own dukkah with hazelnuts, the pumpkin seeds from earlier, cumin seeds, chili flakes and paprika, heating it up in a pan to get all those nice oils going, and then chop it up until it's fine but still got enough texture for that crunch, and then add a bit of salt, mix it up, and that's an amazing topper for this but also for any kind of autumnal salads and soups that you're going to make later on. Now our blini batter is rested and look, it's so fluffy. Oh, so happy about that. So let's cook them. Pan on a medium heat with a little bit of oil, and then you add a little tablespoonful's worth, bit of space between them. Try and get them as round as you can, but really who cares? Then when you see bubbles come up to the surface, they're ready to flip, brown them on the other side, and you're done. Keep going until there's no more batter, basically. And best to cook it all up, and then if you make too many like I did, just pop them in the freezer, and then you can take them out as and when you fancy a little snack, and just warm them up in a frying pan. Assemble it all together, little sprinkle, and voila. Now for our drink, we're going with a whiskey sour, which is definitely one of my absolute favorites. A great sweet and sour combinations with a really satisfying texture. The whiskey sour apparently dates back to the 1800s, and we've actually got the British Navy to thank for it, because back in the days of long sailing trips, they couldn't bring water, couldn't trust the water, so they used to drink alcohol instead. Great idea. So they used to bring whiskey and rum on board because they had a longer shelf life than things like beer, and they also used to suffer a lot from scurvy, so they used to sail with loads of citrus, lemon, limes and oranges. And so their idea of the perfect health juice on their sailing trips was a nice mix of whiskey and lemon, and the whiskey sour was born, and I now get to enjoy it with a lovely autumnal nibble. So to make it super simple, we're adding lemon, sugar syrup and whiskey, and our chickpea water that we saved from earlier to get that lovely foam on top. Voila, enjoy your aperitif, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.